Good evening and thanks for joining us. The American Capitol is still reeling from yesterday's mass shooting, and now a picture is beginning to emerge of the gunman, 34-year-old Aaron Alexis. He was, it seems, deeply troubled and began showing signs of mental illness a decade ago. Just 6 weeks ago, he called the police, complaining he was hearing voices. He'd also had run-ins with the police over weapons, all of them warning signs no one picked up on. Eric Sorensen is in Washington for us tonight. Eric?
Donna, one day after another mass murder, the questions turn to how it happened, why it happened, and what, if anything, will ever get done about gun violence in this country. A nation still in shock. A brief memorial today not far from the Navy Yard where 12 people were shot and killed yesterday by Aaron Alexis, a disturbed ex-Navy reservist. Getting in was the easy part. The military contractor had a pass. He simply drove in. In his car, a shotgun he bought just last week. And then it began.
Multiple shots fired, multiple people down.
Alexis apparently shot his way into one building. On the third floor, he fired into a sprawling atrium and food court, picking off panicked workers. Another he shot point blank. What was it like?
Bad, really. Glad to be alive, really.
The police response was fast, even heroic, a shootout that undoubtedly saved other lives.
But I can tell you there was multiple engagements with the suspect, with multiple different agencies before the final shots were fired.
But there were victims, all aged 46 to 73. The lucky ones got out.
People started leaving the building.
Omar Grant helped a visually impaired co-worker escape.
I'm here with my family, and I'm thinking of all those people who aren't.
As for Alexis, the FBI is not speculating on motive.
We continue to look into Mr. Alexis's past, including his medical and criminal histories.
Alexis' family is in disbelief.
No one ever mentioned anything about him being aggressive or being this type of way. Or
Really?
Like that.
One friend says he was hooked on violent video games.
I would say that's what we joked about, him being obsessed about those video games.
And more telling, in Seattle 2004, Alexis shot the tires of someone's car. In Texas 2010, he fired a weapon into an apartment of a noisy neighbor. And he was discharged from the Navy Reserve in 2011. His father says he had anger management issues. He sought treatment, and yet he had a pass to work here.
He should have never been granted a security clearance. Given his record and background, there has been a failure in the system somewhere.
What is not seen by the public is the utter gruesomeness of such tragedies. At the hospital where victims were rushed, the chief medical officer saw firsthand and wants something done.
But there's something wrong here when we have these multiple shootings, these multiple injuries. There's something wrong.
Yet time and again, American lawmakers have failed to agree on measures to curb gun violence.
The question you have to ask yourself is how many of these have to happen before we start to tighten up the security measures around gun control in this country.
For today, though, there is somber reflection.
In the face of this horrific attack on
the Washington Nationals, their stadium just blocks from the tragedy, donned Navy caps for today's game in remembrance.
And Eric, what's emerging about this gunman's past makes it so hard to believe he was ever given security clearance or allowed to buy a gun. How did all the warning signs get missed?
Yeah, I mean, for someone who was hearing voices in his head, apparently suffering from paranoia, he was able to get a pass to work here. He was able to buy a gun. Part of the issue may be a gun culture that doesn't put strong limitations not only on ammunition and weapons, but on background checks. There was an attempt earlier this year to pass a new stricter laws on background checks in the U.S. Congress, but that failed. So an event like yesterday, as tragic as it is, isn't entirely surprising.
Although I suppose there will be more calls for more to be done. Eric Sorensen in Washington, thank you.